What's up, everybody? Nick Skrip here with my guy Tane. Stick to the script, the second episode of 2024. We had a highly successful episode last week. Number one in iTunes across all platforms. It was spoken about on the radio and in like TMZ and shit like that. It blew up. So I figured, hey, let's just run it back. Let's just run it back.
Very provocative content.
Yeah,
It was good.
yeah, it was. It stirred up some controversy, some emotions, and everything. So if you didn't check it out, go check that one out after you listen to this one here. But Tane and I have another good episode here today. So if you are tuning in right now, stick with us and let's get it.
I'm sticking to the script.
All right, very short intro, but it's something. It's something. It gets the people going. So first and foremost, man, you and I met up. Over the weekend? I think Saturday was a Saturday for the football games, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Or a football game, and
Yeah, at least
got together.
we caught
Oh,
one.
go ahead. Yeah, we got one, and my family was there, and Anthony Sully popped in out of nowhere, and it was good, but it was the start. It was the start of like some very, very cold weather. We're looking
Yes.
at today. I was working remotely today because it was so bad. It was in the negative. So like, how you holding up with what's going on? You've been staying inside. You've been just venturing out still. Like what's been up with this weather? Because it's been bad.
Yeah, it has been really cold. I think the peak that I've seen is like -11, somewhere in there. I mean, and I guess Chicagoans, we're pretty used to this for the most part. I mean, I've been all right. I've been able to stay in the house for the most part, and then when you go out, you bundle up a little bit. But yeah, this definitely isn't weather that like. I'm happy I don't have like an outside job or one of those
For
of
sure.
those ones where I need to be working outside in the cold, or even if I have to go back and forth, because yeah, it's definitely not. It's not pretty out here right now.
Yeah, it like hurts to go out there at times. I think I got hit so hard the first time across the last 2 days with the cold that I turned into a mustache guy. Now I'm just rocking a mustache now just to see how things go. And some people say it's a midlife crisis sort of thing. I say it's because of the cold weather. I think. I don't know, but yeah, it's been a little bit rough in that sense. I'm ready to get out of that, but I asked Tane this week to send me some topics. I brought some topics last week. He had some ideas. I think it's a good thing when both people on the show bring something forth, right? And have things that they want to talk about. So the first segment, which is one that I feel like a lot of us probably can relate to at some point in our lives, or maybe it was high school, maybe it was college, maybe it was after college, but the whole Project X parties. I know we all seen the movie where the everybody knows the movies, but it's this massive party. Everybody's at, crazy things happen, but a lot of us have actually lived through times like that and actually had experiences like that. And I know you and I have swapped stories in the past about a lot of different things. And what did that look like for you though? Like Project X parties, because I know you've had some. I know I've had some. So like, when was it? Like, what did it look like? Talk to me about your experience with Project X parties.
Absolutely. Man, so this was a time. I remember when the movie came out, it was really popular. And, very shortly after that, you had, this whole generation of kids, I guess our age, kids in their early 20s to mid 20s, somewhere in there, trying to recreate these things. And if you know the movie, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like you're in a house. There's way too many people. It looks like fucking Woodstock outside. It's insane. So
Yeah.
Okay, my first experience with this may have been my second, but one of them that was really notable. I remember that we were in the woods,
in the woods,
man.
All right.
Like in the fucking woods. I mean, like obviously we're over here. Like, we grew up in Plainfield area. I can't remember exactly where this party was, but it was definitely somewhere within that realm where you're around either woods, just open land. There's not a whole lot going on. So basically people had to meet on like this back road. You met on this back road. It's like it's a 1 lane, maybe a 2 lane street, but I doubt it.
Okay.
There's no there's no street lights, there's no signs. You essentially drive out to the fucking boonies in the middle of nowhere, and then you go down this street, and then it's like the only, like, you don't even really, like, the GPS is taking you there, but you don't know if you're actually there.
Interesting.
And
It's like a general location sort of thing.
but then all of a sudden you just start to see cars parked on the road, like damn near in the ditch, like kind of like, like just tilted off to the side a little bit. So it's like, oh, okay, well, we must be close. You find a place to park, hop out, and then next thing you know, we're walking to this house.
Interesting.
Which you still don't know where this house is. You're essentially just walking down this dark road with your friends. But it's like you get closer and closer, and you start to be able to hear people, and then you get a little bit closer, and then next thing you know, voices are getting louder, and then you can hear music in the distance, by the way. So you're hearing this music in the distance, and you hear some shit bumping, and you're just like, okay, it's damn, like, oh, this is really it. This is really it. Okay, cool. So you're walking up to the house, and then next thing you know, I'm telling you, it looked like a music. It's like a music festival. Like once you go onto the private road that this house is down, it's just this big house in the middle of nowhere. Like more so like an old school like style of like house.
Yeah.
Not but it has just a ton of land around it. So it's like you're walking up, and you just see there's just like, once you get past, like, because obviously they live off of a long dark road, and then they have a long dark driveway that's also like shaded by like trees. So once you get past all of that, you see all of these people just surrounding this house. Nobody's even in the house. You can tell there's people in there. There's obviously this music is playing somewhere, but there's just a mob of people outside dancing, getting into all kinds of shenanigans, and it's crazy. It's like it's essentially the best way for me to describe it, to people who haven't experienced this. Well, first off, go watch Project X. So it's something like that. And then, second off, I would say that it was like a music festival. Like, majority of the party was literally outside. They had speakers blaring loud enough to where you could hear the music from wherever you were at. And then people were just outside, just acting a fool, man, just getting crazy.
So I'm glad that it didn't result in something bad, because you set this whole thing up to sound like a horror movie. Like, you go through the woods and you have to go through a path, and you don't really know what's going on. And I was just waiting for you to say like a chainsaw turns on out of nowhere, and then you had to book it out of there, and you saw like Jason or some shit like that. But
that's exactly what it sounds like.
That's interesting. So this is something you did, like, this is like a one-time thing. This was like something you did a couple times. Like, I feel like this isn't something you do like every Friday night. We're going to go to the woods place, that nobody will ever bust us at, and like have a good time. I feel like this got to be like kind of a rare occasion sort of thing.
Absolutely a rare occasion. Have never really been to anything quite like that again. And obviously I don't, I'm not really a big fan of going to big creepy houses in the woods in the middle of the night anyway.
Yeah. Me neither.
So it's a little strange. And I felt like around this time there were a couple of parties that were kind of close, but nothing was really quite like that
to that level.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But but I have definitely been to a bunch in that era where it's like, okay, there's way too many people, and this is getting crazy. And they were, and look, the people that were promoting these parties back in the day, like they were calling them Project X parties.
Yeah. I think you had to like tag parties like that at one point to say like, this is not just your average party. This is something different. And at Lewis, we were a small, smaller school. We're not like a U of I or something like that, or like a Northwestern. We're not like a big school, but we would have a lot of big parties as well. And typically it was at one of the athletic houses. So volleyball was really big for us for men's, because they were D1. So you had volleyball house, you had a baseball house, you had a soccer house. Nice. And it was very, I wouldn't say invite only, but it was the same sort of setup to where it's at one of these houses. Mm-hmm. It's going to be completely mobbed. You're going to be shoulder to shoulder. it was athletes for guys. Basically, you had girl athletes there too, of course, but it was mostly just athletes, guy athletes. It wasn't just random dudes showing up to this. Like they were shying people away, saying like, "Nah, this ain't for you. You don't know anybody here, this and that." But it was mostly like the athletic department almost, and then random other people. I'm sure like random girls would get invited and stuff.
That's pretty smart.
to
That's
these
pretty
parties
smart.
and stuff. So those were interesting back then, and you always had a good mixture of like guys doing something stupid, or like one of your teammates doing something out of pocket, or like some sort
For
of
sure.
confrontation, or random people linking up, or random people hooking up or being together, like stuff like that. So those were really big parties back in the day, and I always remember that. And we had the inn because I was on the soccer team, so I can go to the baseball house, I can go to the volleyball house, I would know somebody there,
For
or know
sure.
people there. And there might have been some like little beefs and tension and stuff like that between the sports teams, but at the end of the day, like for a small school, we used to like get down with that stuff. Like we used to hit it pretty hard. And I actually have a similar experience too, to where we had a Halloween party somewhere, and it was based out of the Lewis student body, whatever it was, and we went to a really strange place, and it was kind of similar to what you said, to where we don't really know where we're going. We're given directions. We're kind of following like a general path to get there.
Yes.
We get to this big place, and it's a barn. And it's a giant Halloween party, and a lot of crazy stuff happened at it. I was in a picture doing some questionable things, like on the dance floor. Like it was a interesting like Project X sort of party, because it wasn't something that we typically would do, and it wasn't something that happened every weekend.
Yeah, and I think that was the main part about those parties those days. It wasn't like your average party. Everybody had the extra sauce on it. In the invite, it had the extra sauce on it. Oh, this is the biggest party. This party is there's gonna be 8 kegs at this party. There's gonna be 8 kegs at this party. There's a pool. We're gonna have jungle juice. There's gonna be strippers. Like whatever the case may have been. Like it was always it was always something just crazy. And then when you would get there, and half of that stuff was not there.
I was just gonna say, I'm like it was false advertising half the time. Like none of the things that were on the advertisement were actually like actually there.
Half of that stuff was not there. Those parties were never the most accommodating to people at all. But see, that's the thing, man. When you're at that age, you're gonna go to one of those parties any time that you got a chance to, just to have those memories with your friends, with your people, to have a good time and to really just wild out and just do some stupid shit. But these days, it's like there's no way. It's like I'm going to this party that's packed. I'm elbow to elbow with people that I don't know. Fuck no, it's not happening.
God, that sounds terrible. That sounds terrible.
Sounds terrible.
Like my nightmare. First of all, I don't like random people anymore. Maybe back in the day, but like I'm married. I got my small circle of buddies. Maybe I'll be social. I'm a social person at times and stuff, but I don't want to be out meeting new people, new friends, and like running into new crowds and being like shoulder to shoulder and uncomfortable. Like
not in that way, man. It's like it's just different nowadays. We do it different. Like I don't want to go anywhere where there's no air conditioning. I don't want to go anywhere. Like if I don't know, I can't get a glass of water. Can I get some water? Like what's going on? Where's the bathroom? Where is the bathroom? Where am I? And then when you know where the bathroom is, like there's always a line. You have to wait.
That was the worst.
Yeah, you have to wait entirely too long to use the bathroom. Luckily, as a dude, you could pretty much just go outside.
Yes.
Do what you had to do, which obviously made things a little bit. It didn't make it so bad for us. But yeah, just thinking about being in that kind of environment nowadays, and then you always have to worry about cops. You always have to worry about cops.
We didn't bring that up. I'm surprised we didn't bring that up, because that's what's tied hand in hand, like cops, Project X parties.
Absolutely. I don't know how. I have no idea how we forgot to talk about cops in the midst of all of this. Yes, that's one of the most important things, and it's at that age, it's the main thing that you're worried about. So obviously, as you were explaining about the parties that you guys were having at Lewis, back in those days.
Yeah,
it was smart the way that you guys were doing it. Kind of like, okay, you don't necessarily know anybody here. We're not really going to let you in. because if you
yeah.
the more chances that you have people in your space at your party, you know, that you don't know, the more likely you are to have some bullshit happen. And next thing you know, you're young, don't know how to handle the situation, and then you just end up in a spot that you don't know how to deal with. You know what I mean? It's a lot easier to just stick to the people that you know. The more random
Stick
people
to the script.
Boom, there you go. The more random people that there are at these spaces, the more likely you're gonna end up into some bullshit.
And if you are a college kid by chance listening for whatever reason of this podcast, take away that. Go to these Project X parties, but understand that there's probably a high possibility that they get busted or something happens to where it attracts the cops or something like that. So don't be the one that is drinking and driving. Nobody should be drinking and driving, and nobody should be drinking and driving. But don't be the one that gets caught in a bad situation, just knowing you're going to be going somewhere that's going to be crazy packed and that's going to have a lot of alcohol and attention and people like that. So be smart, Uber, do the right thing, and just understand that go and experience these things, but be smart about it at the end of the day.
That was great. That was great, Nick. Because we should be the role models now, right? We should be
I'm trying to be.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be.
If we're gonna tell anybody that's younger that may be listening to this podcast, how dope and how fun these parties were and how we did stupid shit, we got to tell you about the responsible stuff too.
Yeah.
Look, hey, if you don't know what's in the jungle juice, you might not need to be drinking it.
Six of them. Don't drink 6 of them, and don't drink 2 and say I don't feel anything, and then out of nowhere you feel everything. You don't want to be that person.
Exactly. Oh, and then another thing, don't let your friends, don't let your friends coax you into which this is, and I'm just saying this, it's always going to happen. The peer pressure is always going to be there. Your friends are always going to be, you can drink a little more than that. Okay, chug this. Let's do this. Let's do that. And obviously when you're having fun with your buddies, you're going to want to, you're going to want to drop your nuts on the table and then prove that you can do some tough shit. But you guess what? You don't really have to, because if you end up the drunk dude that's passed out at a party, it's not fun. It's not fun.
Your night's ruined. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy at the end of the day. You don't need to be the sloppy one. You might get that way every once in a while, but you don't want your night completely cashed way too early, and then people got to take care of you because everybody remembers that stuff. But
take it from me. You don't want to do it.
Yeah, good times back in the day, though. Project X parties. You sent me another one, though. I want to pivot to the next segment here. You sent me another one I thought was very, very interesting, because I've actually seen a bunch of TikTok videos about this before. I've seen lists. You sent me some lists, but it's basically there's things out there that are listed as things that men cannot do. And some of these lists and opinions are generated by women. Some are generated by other men.
Yes.
And it's basically things that maybe are not super masculine, or they're frowned upon to do as a man maybe by women or by other men. So it's things that men can't do. So I'm going to list you off a couple things here. We'll go one by one, and you tell me what's your thoughts on that. Do you agree they shouldn't do it? Do you think that there's a different take to it? Are you against that? Are you somewhere in the middle? And tell me why. So everything listed here I read from stuff Tane sent to me. So I didn't make this list. He didn't make this list. This is legitimately stuff from the internet. This is an article, 2 different articles actually. So these are things that people have actually said before. So first one on the list, and maybe this hits at home a little bit, but hug their boys. So these are things men are said to not be able to do, or they shouldn't do. What do you think about that? Hug their boys.
Look,
I think this is kids, right? Sons.
No.
Oh, you mean so this is just hug your friends.
Your friends, your actual friends. I mean, look, we're in society, and with the way that men are raised in general, you're raised not to show too much emotion. That's been the old way of doing things. Hey, look, a lot of dudes, there are a lot of dudes that hug. Okay. If you're my friend, you're my good friend, I'm going to give you a hug, or I'm going to give you the arm over the shoulder, type of thing, with the dap up or whatever, you know what I'm saying? like that's kind of me. Like if you're my guy, I'm gonna dap you up, pull you in, give you a little hug over the shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Like to me,
yeah.
With my friends, it's just a way to be a little more personable. You know what I'm saying? Let your friend know that you care a little bit. But I guess I understand. I guess I understand what somebody might mean on this list to a certain degree, but no, I don't subscribe to that. I definitely hug my guys.
Yeah, I think I'm a guy that might do the handshake and do the shoulder hug sort of thing, one arm around. I know, like, I know you could be a hugger. You could be a big hugger at times. And there's people that are huggers, and I think with like your close friends, I've hugged you probably 1,000 times. I've hugged like Colin, our guy Colin, like he could be a hugger at times. Like, I mean, there's other guys that are like that, and you bring it in real quick. You're not like hugging and slow dancing at the same time or something like that. Like, you're not doing anything weird.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it depends who it is, because there's some guys out there that are just natural huggers. Like, I can think of a couple people off the top of my head, but I'm not like that close to them. So for me, sometimes, like, if it's you, you're my guy. I don't even think twice. But if it's like somebody I barely see, it's someone that like I'm acquainted with, but I'm not like actually like boys with, and they're big into like hugging. To me, I'm not saying I'm again like, oh, it's weird, it's wrong, like that guy's a weird guy. Like, I'm not saying that necessarily, but I do feel a little iffy about it. Personally.
No, I'm with you on that. If you're somebody I don't really know like that, I'm not. I don't really. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna hug you. You got to respect people's boundaries. I'll shake your hand or whatever, but if I don't know you like that, I'm definitely not giving you a hug. So yeah, I mean, obviously there are some things on these lists that are a little bit, blown out of proportion, I feel like, but that's, I think we cleared that one up pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. So the next one on the list is, and I'll probably have to specify this a little bit, but it's get cocktails with a woman. So I think when it says get cocktails, it's like you're not getting a beer with a girl or your girl or whoever, a date, whatever. I think it's like you're getting like martinis or like specialized like fruity drinks. Like, what's your take on that? So it's frowned upon for men to get cocktails with a woman.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, that one's a little bit different, because I could see it both ways. I could really see that one both ways. Like, obviously, if you're going out for drinks with a woman, right? I mean, and I don't know if you're, I feel like there has to be some type of statute of limitations to this. Like, if you're going out with a woman and you're trying to court her, you're trying to hook up or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Yeah, there's probably some drinks that you don't order with. I mean, I don't know, depending on where you're at. I mean, you're probably not going to order the apple martini, with the little olive in it. I don't know if that's necessarily something that you can order if you're going out on a date with a woman on the first date, like as a man. It's just a little too. You don't order anything with an umbrella in it. If you're ordering the drink with the umbrella in it, it's got strawberries on it, fruit. So I think
it's cherry, really, like it's decked up. It's decked
up. Like you can order an old fashioned. You can order an old fashioned. You can order something like that. You can order. You can get a Jameson and ginger ale. Those are very acceptable man cocktails that you can have on a date with a woman, I feel like. But I think you're teetering the line a little bit if you're ordering some of those things that are a little too fruity. And hey, the way I look at it is like, when in doubt, have a beer. And look, and guess what? If you're not sure if the woman that you're talking to is into beer, if she thinks that beer is what's the word I'm looking for? If she thinks that beer is a little lower class, then just get a fancier beer. Get a little Stella. Get an IPA,
craft beer.
Get a craft beer. You know what I'm saying? Like, get something nice. Like, this isn't just like your average. This isn't your average Busch latte. And obviously, no disrespect to Busch lattes. Obviously, I love Busch lattes. But if you're out on a date, you might want to step it up a little bit. Get you a little Stella, get a Guinness, something like that. But I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on a date, for instance, I think getting a nice beer is probably the go to if you're getting a beer. I mean, you're probably not gonna. I think if I'm gonna order a Bush Light or something like or a Miller Light, I'm probably gonna have like 6 of them, and you're probably not gonna do that on a first date or something like that. I think the timing and where you are with that person is very important because if it's a first date and nothing is talked about, we're just meeting and I'm the first to order. I'm not saying me, I'm just saying in
Yeah,
general. I'm married, I'm not talking about first dates, right? In
yeah.
general, I don't know if I like set the tone by getting a fruity drink, right? But if I'm with my wife somewhere, maybe I do because I don't give a shit, and she don't give a shit. I'm
Oh,
playing the room and I'm playing the circumstance, right?
exactly. At that
Like
point, you already
I'm
got her. Who cares?
give me 3 umbrellas and 4 cherries in that drink. Like I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
I
for
don't care.
sure.
But if you've been talking to somebody and they maybe say in advance, "Hey, let's go get," and they say a specific drink, like a fruity drink, "Would you be up for getting this specific drink?" I think I'd be like, fine, okay, if that's what you want to do, I'd be fine,
Right.
fine doing that. But I'm not, suggesting here setting the tone that way of like,
Hmm.
we're going out on a first date or we're hanging out, whatever, and I just like I'm gonna break the ice with the strawberry daiquiri or something like that. I, I
Yeah,
don't I
that's
don't know.
yeah. Some
I
of
mean,
those.
I mean, do what you want to do at the end of the day, but sometimes you don't want to give off a weird, I don't know, impression or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there are definitely some of those ones. There are definitely some of those ones there, where a strawberry daiquiri, you go out and you're ordering, a strawberry margarita or something like that. There's look when in doubt, okay, just get yourself a nice fancy beer and an upper level beer because what's more manly than that? There's nothing that she can say. It's like, this guy drinks beer, I'm not really into that. Hey, I'm a man at the end of the day. Do you like men or no?
Oh. I mean, I don't know. You're thinking that. I don't know if you're going to say that, but that's your statement. That's your statement. All right,
I
all right.
don't I don't I don't talk like that in real life. This is
No,
how
no,
this
no,
is
no.
this is how this is how I talk to my friends.
Yeah, this is me and you sitting at a bar like bullshitting right now.
Exactly.
Um, Here's an interesting one. Hits at home for me, but I want to know your thoughts on this. But I've seen this many times before. Men shouldn't wear jerseys of other grown men.
Oh my
I've seen this
god.
many times before, and some people have said, like, man, imagine being, 30, 35 years old, 40 years old, wearing a jersey of a 23-year-old kid, or I'd never wear a jersey of another man's name on my back. Like I've heard this
Oh
stuff
man.
before, and some people are actually like very adamant about that being a thing.
Oh yeah.
What do you
Oh
what do you
yeah.
think? As I wear a Deer and Fox jersey right now.
No, look, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think people, and yeah, I think that's also something that I feel like a woman had to have come up with that just doesn't really understand, how much men genuinely love sports. It's like if you
I've
if
heard
you
it more from guys though, and I'm not bullshitting you here. I'm not trying to like
I can
steer
see
you
that.
away from
No,
saying
no, no, no,
I've
no. I can see
actually I've
that.
heard it more from other guys that are like, I would never do some shit like that. Like I'm not wearing another man's name on my back. I'm not
I
wearing
get what you mean.
a kid's jersey. Like I've heard it more from guys, I think.
I get what you mean, and you know what? I can definitely see that there's a group of guys out there that would think like that. I don't understand it. The way I look at it is like, if you're a fan of a team and you want to rep the team that you like or rep a certain player that you like, I think it's something that's dope to do. It's like a sign of respect, and then that way, and then also, like, I think if you're in sports mode, you're going to watch the game. It's like at the end of the day, this is entertainment, but besides the entertainment factor of it, as guys, we are invested in players that we like. So it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, I'm gonna buy a player's jersey that I like because I think it looks fucking cool.
yeah,
Right. And,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, and that's it at the end of the day. I think this sport is cool. I like this player, whether if I like the college that he went to, if I've been watching this player since he started in the NBA or in the NFL, the NHL, MLB, wherever they came from, it's just a very regular thing that dudes do. Like it's very I don't understand the people that could look at that and be like, oh yeah, I'm rocking another dude's jersey, Or even if it's a player, if it's a younger player, like obviously I'm 32 years old,
Yeah.
you know, getting older. And yeah, if I'm rocking a player's jersey and the dude's like 24, I feel no ways about it. If you play for a team that I like, or if I like you as a player, then who cares?
I think we're fans at the end of the day. Like we're
Yeah.
not playing. I think we're fans at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
you know, we like the team. We like the players on the team. You know, whether we're just like watching them on TV, maybe we have them on our fantasy football team, maybe we play Madden and they're on our teams. And I mean, whatever the case is, you're a fan of the team, fan of the players. I don't think it's weird at all, and I'll never understand that. And at the end of the day, I'm a big proponent for wearing what you want, and especially if it's something you support.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's an interesting one. This
Absolutely.
one probably be quick. This was listed. Do yoga. Do yoga. Men shouldn't do yoga.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I mean, that's so I'm not gonna lie. Do I think it's weird? No, I might not think that it's necessarily weird. This is tough. I don't really know how I feel about this. In my heart of hearts, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no.
Like don't do it, or no, it's not weird. Like what do you mean?
I'm gonna say don't. I'm gonna say don't do it. I'm gonna say don't do it. I've just never really. If we're talking about from a perspective of a man, like if this is something that's gonna make a man like quote unquote soft, I don't know too many heterosexual women that talk to dudes that do yoga on a regular basis. And this isn't because like obviously it's all about courting women, but it's like if you're a dude and you come to me and you're like, oh hey, I was at my yoga studio, or I saw my yoga instructor on Wednesday, I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Did you also go see your hairdresser? Like I know that sounds terrible, but this is what I'm thinking in man brain in that moment in my head. You can't just tell me that you just left the yoga studio, bro. You can't. I'm sorry. I'm gonna in the back of my head, I'm gonna be like, okay, that guy's a little weird, or he's like, or maybe he's just like a super duper hippie that smokes a lot of weed, and maybe he's just like into that, and that's just kind of that's his zen. Like I don't know, but in my head, the first thing I'm thinking is that's a little strange.
Yeah, I did it one time in college. We had a couple of the guys on my team go and do it. Was not a fan. I thought I was very athletic at the time and kind of flexible and stuff. And I was like, I was not doing well. Didn't enjoy it. Thought it was strange. Thought it was weird and wasn't for me. I have heard in the sports world that some athletes do it because it improves their mobility and flexibility and stuff like that. Here's the thing, though. I think, that's doing it with a purpose. That's a very specific purpose. I think that if for some reason it's like a way to meditate, or it's like a mental release and you want to do it, that's cool. Mm-hmm. But also, like, I would think it's a little strange if it becomes like a personality trait. Like this is me being different. Like I'm hitting it hard and I'm kind of, discussing it all the time. But again, I'm going to say this over and over and over and over again. Like, do what you want at the end of the day. Yeah. When it comes to lists like this, it's just like, in my opinion or your opinion, does it come off a little strange? Mm-hmm. I think so. I think if I had a buddy that like that was his personality, like doing hot yoga and like I can't hang out because I can't miss this class, and oh, you should have seen what happened at class yet. Like that whole thing, I probably would think it's weird. Like it's not like, oh, I can't be friends with that guy, or like, oh, like that guy's, I can't be around that guy. It's not that necessarily, but in my brain, I'm going to be like, I think it's a little iffy.
It's a little different. A little different. It is.
What about, this could be a big one here. This could be a big one here. Have female friends you hang out with. Have female friends that you hang out with. What are we thinking here? This could be a touchy topic for a lot of people, because I think really people feel very strongly on both sides of this.
Yeah, and I think that's like.
Oh, I just burped. My bad.
No, you're good. I didn't even catch it on the mic.
Oh,
okay.
no.
Yeah, so this is one of those ones, I feel like this is one of those never-ending topics. You know what I mean? It's like, what is, like, having platonic relationships, between, men and women. They
Yeah.
definitely exist. Um they definitely exist. I feel like, yeah, I think I could see why a girl would think that if you're the guy, like, okay, if we're speaking from the standpoint to where if you're the guy and majority of your friends are women, or if you're the solo dude that's hanging with a group of girls and like that's your crew, like that's your group that you hang out with on a regular basis, I can see where that could be a little bit weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that's if that pertains to the question, and if that's what the question is asking, um so yeah, I mean, that one's a little bit tricky, because in one hand you could definitely just be this dude that's just that, like, hey, I'm hanging out with all these chicks, but guess what, I'm macking on all these chicks. And
Yeah. That's where it's a little like, I
it,
mean,
yeah,
can
it's
you
like,
ever just like establish a line in a friend group or like with a friend like that? That's where it gets
right.
tricky, I feel like sometimes.
It gets extremely tricky. And yeah, it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough to decipher, kind of what it is, because on one hand, I feel like if a girl is kind of unsure, and I guess we can get into the sexuality aspect of it, or what they might be thinking, just briefly. So yeah, I feel like if the girl already thinks that you're teetering on the spectrum, if you have too many chick friends and you're hanging out with them on a regular basis, she's probably going to think that you like something else.
Yeah.
So that's probably what that could be. Or
Okay.
it could be the other thing where it's like, okay, this guy has too many girlfriends, and now your girl feels insecure because you're hanging around all these chicks. You have all these chick friends, and like, which one of these women have you hooked up with? Is there some
Yeah.
is there
Yeah.
some energy there? And for you and I, it's more so on that side of things. It's like, if you're hanging around a group of girls, or if you have some platonic girlfriends, bringing a new woman into the mix that doesn't really understand your dynamic can be difficult, you know and and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and depending on how tight your friendship is with whoever that girl was in your friend group, or how your relationship was teetering on the spectrum within that, it can definitely get tricky. That's a
I
good
think
one.
it for sure can get tricky, and I think it complicates being in a relationship at some point too, because I think on both sides of it, I think that if you're a guy in a relationship, and you have I have a girl. I'm not me. I'm just saying in general. I have a girl, but I chill with these other girls all the time.
Mhm.
That girlfriend, fiance, wife, significant other is probably always wondering, like, all right, like you said it before, like, which of these girls is he hooked up with before? Like, because you
Oh
can
yeah.
say, hey, we're just friends,
Mhm.
but if there was ever that line that was crossed before to where you were more than friends, even if it
Oh
was
yeah.
a one night thing, sort of thing, I think that makes that partner of yours completely uncomfortable, right? And
Oh
it
yeah.
probably is not right. And there's also that, if you're a guy with a bunch of girlfriends, your significant other might be wondering, which of them actually likes him more than a friend, and that could be
Exactly.
vice versa. Like,
Yep.
personally,
Absolutely.
like if my wife was hanging out with guys, and I established, because I would want to establish first and foremost, if she had some guy friends personally that she wanted to hang out with, I'd be
Right.
iffy about it, to be honest. But I would
Yeah.
first establish, like, none of these guys are a guy that you've ever had history with, right?
Right.
Right? Like, beyond being a friend, like, there
Oh
was
yeah.
never any intimacy, even if it was something small. You made out one time in 8th grade. Like, that would push all those people out. Like, you're not hanging out with those guys. But if I can know that, okay, number one, there's never been any past between them. Okay. But
Mhm.
number two, now I'm going to look at these guys and I'm going to say, all right, or this one or two guys, whatever it is, I'm going to say, do I think that there's a hidden agenda? Do I think that, you know,
Yes.
they want something more? Do I think
Yes.
that if given the opportunity that they would jump on it? And I don't even
Oh
need to say
yeah.
the rest of it.
Yeah.
Those are things that I'd be thinking about,
Absolutely.
personally, from my perspective. So on a girl's perspective too, if a guy's got a bunch of girlfriends, I would think she'd be thinking about the same thing. Does
Yeah.
does one of those girls want to hook up with him? Does he want to hook up with one of them? Has there been a past relationship thing? I think there's a
Yes.
world where a guy and a girl can have a friendship that they
Mhm.
never cross a line in, and they're just homies. Like I've
Absolutely.
had that. I've had
It
that before in the
exists.
past where I had
It
a very,
exists.
very close girlfriend that we didn't do nothing, and we
Mhm.
we didn't look at. I mean, I didn't look at her like that. I don't know if she looked at me like that. Whatever. But it's too complicated.
It can most definitely be too complicated, but yeah, it's pretty much like you just said. You can think about it in both ways, and it's like obviously we have our double standards, but I think this is one of those things that men and women can both agree upon. It's like as a guy, it's like, hey, it's like I know dudes. All right, you can't tell me that all of these you can't be hanging around all of these dudes and telling me that not one of these dudes is trying to hit or thought about hitting
Or would if he was
or
given the
would.
opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, because at the end of the day, it's as a guy, we know how guys are, and yes,
Yes.
like, and guess what, we have to give women that credit in regards to this type of stuff as well.
Not be hypocrites. We
Yeah,
can't be hypocrites because
yeah,
we know, but on the flip side, like I've been trying to do a better job of that. Like
it's like they know
I
too
don't know, within the
sometimes.
last like year or so, like I've been really trying to like understand from the other side on things. Because I
Yeah,
think in the past I'd be like, oh, that's dumb to think like that,
yeah,
or
yeah.
that's stupid to even like bring that up, this and that. But I've been trying more and more like across the last like year and a half to like
Hmm.
really start like seeing from the other side and being like, all right, from their perspective, maybe it is sketchy, like whatever.
Right, right. It's like they know too sometimes. Like they obviously, they're women. They have an idea of how women think probably a bit better than we do. So you have to respect with what they're saying in that regard. Sometimes you do.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a big one though. That's a big one for sure.
That was definitely good. That's one of those ones you could talk. We could fucking sit here and
The
talk
whole
about
the whole
for
the whole,
hours.
the whole podcast.
Seriously.
The next one, be open about their emotions. So maybe like visibly
Mm.
show emotion, speak
Yeah.
about emotion. It could be any of those things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, see, here's the thing, man. It's like I think we're creeping towards, like a level in society today where that's becoming, more acceptable. But
Yeah,
I think in general, not even just like as a man, I think if you're showing too much of a level of emotion on a regular, I think it depends on when you do it, right? It's
yeah,
like obviously if you're doing that all the time, then I don't think anybody's really
yes,
going to want to hang out with you that much.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
your own friends might, be like, okay, what's wrong with this person? We need to try to fix our friend. We need to help our friend see what's going on, because you could be making your friends a little bit uncomfortable with displaying a level of emotion all the time.
all the
But
time, right?
yeah, but I think it's okay every now and then to let some of that shit out. You could have a deep talk, with your friend, every now and then. That's cool, because at the end of the day, you're supposed to be able to get shit off of your chest with your friends. That's important.
Yes,
Otherwise, that they're not really your friends. If you can't get deep with your friend every now and then when you have some shit going on, then it's like, what do you really got them for? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you should
yeah,
be able to do that. But it's like, yeah, I mean, obviously, you can't be this outwardly emotional person as a dude on a regular basis. You just can't really do that. As a society, it's still not really accepted. And I think it kind of what's the word I'm looking? I think it kind of disrupts the balance a little bit. Like, I think
yeah,
there's something about dudes to where we have to be a little more stoic and a little more just reserved when it comes down to how we behave and the way that we carry ourselves. Like, we have to be looked at as problem solvers, doers. Like, I can't. I'm not gonna sit here and talk to you about my problems and the shit that I have going on. I'm just gonna figure it out, because
yeah,
that's how
yeah,
I'm programmed. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a certain level of emotion that you can display on a regular basis as a guy. And like, I'm open to dudes being, more open about this kind of stuff, because I feel like it's important for guys and their mental health moving forward. And I think it's also something that could help us, be better fathers and things like that. But
yeah,
yeah, but there's a line for everything. There's too
yeah.
much of everything sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the line part is important because me historically too, like I've always been a guy that like I could probably have 1,000 things wrong with me and I go hang out with my buddies and you wouldn't know one thing's wrong with me. And I
Right.
will bottle a lot of stuff up. And then at some point it probably all, explodes out. And that's not super, super healthy where, I think there's been times, me and you have had some pretty deep conversations. I know there's a couple of my friends that I've had some pretty deep conversations about stuff with. And
Yeah.
I think it's not every time we hang out. It's not even every 5 times or 10 times we
Right.
hang out. But I
Right.
think that being able to open up about stuff, when you need to is super healthy. And I think it actually makes for your relationships with your guys even stronger to like be able to say, hey, like this shit's been bugging me. Like I want to bounce some ideas or bounce like my thoughts off of somebody and vent
Yes.
and have a beer doing it. Now, if you do that every time, you probably are going to turn into somebody that people don't want to hang out with, right? Just because nobody wants to like hear nonstop
Yeah.
problems or venting or like emotional stuff. Like, not that people aren't entitled to feel things all the
Yes.
time, but also you can't base your friendship on like, venting and like, just like telling about everything that's bothering you and all this shit like that. But I think that when
Yeah.
you find the right times, I think your buddies know, like, all right, this shit's kind of serious this time because, like, you could say to me, like, oh, Nick's kind of venting about something right now, and
Mhm.
90% of the time he doesn't, so I'm going to hear him out.
Oh, for sure.
That's a good thing with relationships, and then when it comes to women, I think too, as a guy, I think it's the same sort of balance. If you're always like super emotional about everything and you're like crying about stuff or venting about stuff nonstop, then it turns into the boy who cried wolf. Your
Yes,
partner might not
absolutely.
know might not know what to take serious. Maybe it comes off like
Exactly.
you're always complaining. Like me, I've broken down in front of my wife, a few times, but I've like made sure like I'm not doing that nonstop all the time. Like I'm not that guy to
Yeah.
begin with, but I think you
Yeah.
should be able to find that balance and have someone, again, whether it's your boys, your significant other, whoever, that you can have that balance of like, hey, you know what, now's the time I need to do it. It's okay to show the emotions. It's just like that line of like kind of picking and choosing a little bit, I feel like. And again,
Absolutely.
you're entitled to all your emotions always, but don't be afraid to come out and talk about certain things and work through them with somebody.
Yeah, you got to be able to. You definitely got to be able to let that shit out every now and then. You definitely it's important. It's an important thing.
All right, I got a couple more. Maybe we can fly through these ones.
Okay, cool.
Let's fly through these last ones, and then we'll close out the podcast here. But what about guys who are not into sports?
Yeah, I just don't really gel with him, man. Like I can understand that you're not a big sports guy. Maybe you're one of those dudes that's into math. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe you like botany. Maybe you like plants. Maybe you're more of a music person. But there's just something about you that I'm just not gonna vibe with you 100%. Like no, like I will, but it's like once we start talking about sports, if I bring up a player or a team or what's going on in the NFC North, and you have no clue, you can't provide any input at all. Nothing on the North. I just that's it. I got nothing.
Yeah, I think I think it just becomes difficult to relate and have conversations sometimes with people like that. Like I mean, if that's you and you're a dude and you're into like all those things you just listed off, like power to you. I just think that sometimes it makes it difficult to like hang out, because a lot of times me and you hang out, maybe we're watching a game and we're like having some beers or something like that,
Always.
or we're talking about something sports related, and then you have that person in the room. You got to figure out what could we relate with and talk about. Like I have people in my life that don't really like sports, and I don't hold it against them. It just sometimes it creates like, I don't know what really to talk about. And sometimes those people are like twice as successful as me. So it's not like I can give them shit about not liking sports when they're like, making, bank, doing whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe they like music or whatever. Maybe they
Sure.
like, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, that's an interesting one. What about guys who abuse taking selfies?
Yeah, you definitely can't. You can't be that dude that's just taking a bunch of selfies and posting them all over social media. That's weird. That's weird. You definitely look weird, doing that. Don't do that. Just you can post a selfie every now and then, or if you're posting a selfie, post a group selfie. Post a selfie with your
kid.
boys. Yeah, with your kid, like, whoever. But if you're posting these selfies, on a regular basis, and it's just your face in the camera. Nobody asks for that. Like nobody wants to see that all the time. It's weird.
I think it's strange too when like I've seen it before. It's like there's guys out there that will do that and they're like married and they have kids and stuff. And it's like, what are you looking for? Because I feel like if you're like you're like a single guy, whatever, you're in your 20s, maybe you just went through a big breakup. Maybe you just been single for a bit. You want to post selfies at the gym, or you want to post selfies because you want the attention. That makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. Maybe it's annoying if you do it every single day or something, but usually you want something out of the selfie, right? You want something out of the selfie.
1000%.
So if you're a single dude and you're posting selfies, like what does a single guy want? Probably like attention from women. Like that makes 2 + 2 is 4, right? Yeah, like it makes sense. But like I see some of these guys sometimes they're married or they're married with kids, and it's like a lot of selfies all the time, like without the kid, without the wife.
It's weird.
It's like what are we looking for here?
There's weird behavior. It's like it's especially weird if you have a family and you have children. It's like if anytime people have to realize anytime that you're posting a selfie, especially if you're posting it with a certain look on your face, it looks like you're asking the world, "Do I look pretty?" And it's like, as a guy, you shouldn't be asking me that. I don't want to look down. I don't want to look down my feed and then be like, oh shit, there's Nick posting a selfie of his face with his brown eyes twinkling in the
my new mustache.
With
mustache.
with the fresh stash, thinking, hey, do you guys like this? If you don't get that shit out of here.
Yeah. Do you guys like this? And then like someone comments and I'm like, don't comment on this post. I'm married, like or whatever, like something stupid like that, like ridiculous. Last one here on this list, and then we'll probably end up closing it up. Be a male version of a cougar. So a cougar is usually an older woman who is attracted to younger guys and goes after younger guys. Like we're not talking about anything like under 18 here. We're not being creepy here. I'm talking about just somebody that's a bit older going after people that are younger. Like personally, I'll just start this off. Personally, I think it's a bit of a double standard, right? Because I think if an older chick goes after younger guys, maybe a girl's like early 40s and she's dating some dude or some dudes in their mid 20s, they might just say, hey, that's a cougar. That's like cool, right? That's pretty cool. Maybe if you're on the receiving end of a cougar relationship, you're a guy, you're in your 20s, early 30s, and some chicks in her 40s or early 50s, whatever. You're like, oh, that's cool. But if it was reverse, you got a guy that's in his 40s going after chicks in their 20s, it's deemed creepy. It's creepy. That guy's a creeper. He's whatever the term is, robbing the cradle or whatever it's called. It's a double standard.
That's another one. Grooming.
It's a double standard. So like for me personally, I think you just have to understand that it is a societal viewpoint that's different. It does come off as creepy. Does that mean if you're a bit older you can't date somebody younger?
Right.
No, but I think it's the way you approach it. If you're going on Instagram and you're commenting on all these chicks pictures as an older guy, it's probably going to look a certain way. Now, if you can bag some dates with some people that are younger than you and those things actually happen, then, power to yourself. Like, that's fine. I think you just got to be careful with the way you approach it. Like I'm a cougar. Tess is 5 years younger than me. I don't know if that qualifies. I don't know if that qualifies me as a cougar, but I wasn't, in my life going to be somebody that's going to be commenting on people like 10 years younger than me's Instagrams or whatever like that. I think you can date younger, of course, but I think because of the way society looks at it, you just got to approach it differently than women can.
Yeah, that's very true. As a dude, you definitely have to tread softly with that one because you can be looked at as, you can be looked at as a guy that's trying to groom a young woman. You could be looked at as a bit predatory. I think that there should be a certain cutoff within age to where that's a little to where it could be a little more socially acceptable. It's like it's like, okay, it's in my mind, right? It's like in my mind. Now, when I'm 50, if I'm 50 years old, right? It's like Could I find a woman that's 25 years old attractive? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not there yet. I don't necessarily know if I could. But with these dudes out there that can, it's like, I don't know if I can necessarily say you're a creep because I haven't been there yet. At the end of the day, is it a little weird? Yeah, it's weird. Like you're twice that person's age. You know, like there's a 25-year gap there. 25 years is a long time. Now, now there's also this area there where it's like if you're a dude and like let's say you're a 50-year-old man, it's like if you're dating a chick that's 35, it's like I don't know if I care about that as much. You know what I mean? I feel like as you go up in age, and I feel like as the lines of maturity, as long as you get a little bit older,
things are different.
You know what I mean? It's like when you're, it's like something that, it's like when you're, if your girl is a little bit younger than you, and the gap is, I feel like when the gap is upwards to like 10 years to 15 years, I think then that's when it's like it can be looked at a little bit different. But at the same time, it's all about the intent. Right. Now it's all about the intent. If you're the creepy dude that's at the bar, every weekend with hanging out with all the young kids, you got yourself a couple of young buddies. You're like 55 years old. You got the money. You're hanging out. You might know one young guy in there. You might know two young guys. You might not know anybody, but you're the dude that's like you're offering to buy these 20-year-old chicks, drinks and stuff. You look weird. You look weird. But as a guy, I think, obviously because we have more, we have testosterone and we're looked at as more masculine. And it's like, dudes, it's like, oh, like we're tough. Nothing can hurt us. It's like, if I see a dude that's with a 55-year-old chick, I'm going to be like, oh, sweet. If she's hot, like, what am I going to
it's like a double standard for sure.
Yeah. I was like,
that guy's the man.
Yeah,
he's the man.
He's the man. He's killing it. Like, oh, she likes him. Hey, maybe you can get her to buy you a car. I don't know.
But that's what I think on the reverse. Though, if I see like a younger chick with like an older guy, I'm like, that guy's got money
for sure.
But on the reverse, I'd be like, if it's a younger dude with an older chick, I'm like, that guy's the man. It's like two different things. Like that guy must be rich. On the flip side, that guy's the man.
Yeah, the money is never really the aspect when it comes down to if a dude is hooking up with an older chick. It's kind of just like, oh, sweet dude, you bagged an older chick. Like that's dope. Yeah, it's just always looked at. It's as a guy, it's just always going to be looked at as the cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good segment though, for sure. I feel like we can go on and on for stuff like that. I had like 100 things we could have picked from, so I try to pick some good ones there. But that's
it was nice. There for sure. It was nice
for sure. Going to close things up there. Tane, any words of wisdom as we are closing up this second podcast of 2024 for the people?
No, man, it's been another fun one. Look, if you live in Illinois, if you live in the Chicagoland, anywhere here up in the north, man, stay safe, stay warm. Try to stay out of the cold as much as you can. And yeah, man, just continue to make the beginning of 2024 a good one. And watch the NFL playoffs. Watch the NBA too. It's good stuff.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I said this in a video before, but very briefly, food for thought. Don't let situations and events and things that happen between yourself and other people, yourself and groups of people, yourself and one person, whatever. Don't let anything influence your viewpoint of who you are as a person. I think shit happens to us all the time in life, and we go through different things, and it makes us kind of create these narratives of who we might be as people. I think you just got to hold on to who you actually are as a person, and always remember that when you go through some tough shit sometimes, because I think that can get skewed and that can impact you moving forward. So keep in mind who you are as a person, with the good, with the bad. At the end of the day, that's what's important. So appreciate you guys for tuning in to Stick to the Skrip.
I like it.
Tell your friends about it. Famous podcast. Tane and I will be rich in a couple years, 15, 20 years from this.
It's coming.
It's coming. Enjoy the night, guys. Thanks.
Good night.